The elegant hum of clinking silverware and soft conversation in the upscale restaurant was interrupted by an unexpected voice. "You're telling me she was the one who messed up?" A rich, authoritative tone filled the air as a well-dressed man pointed toward a waitress standing at the far end of the room. His voice, dripping with contempt, echoed in the pristine walls. But what happened next would leave everyone in the restaurant, staff and customers alike, frozen in disbelief. Barron Trump, yes, the son of the president, wasn't having it. It all began when Barron, a regular at the fine dining establishment, entered for his usual quiet dinner. He was known for keeping to himself, choosing not to flaunt his last name or status. But tonight, as he made his way toward his table, his attention was drawn to a scene unfolding at the bar. A young waitress, no older than 22, stood at the counter, her face pale as the manager berated her. She had spilled a drink on a customer's designer suit. No one could blame her. It was an accident, something that could happen to anyone. But the manager wasn't giving her any chance to explain. His voice rose with every word, humiliation lacing each sentence. "How could you be so careless? Do you have any idea how much that suit costs?" He sneered, his face twisted with anger. The poor waitress stammered, trying to apologize, but the man wouldn't have it. "Get it together. You're lucky we don't fire you right here." Barron stopped dead in his tracks. There was something about the scene that rubbed him the wrong way. He had seen enough of the world to know that life wasn't always fair, but this was something different. He wasn't one to jump into situations like this, but something told him he couldn't walk away this time. As he walked over to the bar, the tension in the room grew. The manager didn't notice him initially, too absorbed in his tirade. But when Barron tapped him lightly on the shoulder, the man turned, his face instantly changing from rage to confusion. "Excuse me," Barron said, his voice calm but firm. "I couldn't help but overhear what's going on here." The manager was taken aback, clearly not expecting a confrontation from someone who appeared so young and unassuming. "This is none of your business," he snapped, his voice harsh as he turned back to the waitress. Barron stepped closer, his voice low but carrying weight. "It is now." The manager scoffed, clearly dismissing him, but Barron wasn't backing down. He was used to people underestimating him, especially in situations like this, where wealth and power often gave people a free pass to mistreat others. But Barron had learned, growing up in the public eye, that real power wasn't about status but about standing up for what was right. "What exactly happened?" Barron asked, his eyes locking onto the waitress, who stood frozen, her hands trembling. The waitress glanced up at him, relieved that someone was finally taking her side. She explained how the drink had been an accident. The customer was more concerned with his drink than his suit, but the manager insisted on making it an issue. Barron looked back at the manager. "You're accusing her of negligence over an accident?" The manager straightened up, puffing his chest as if Barron's presence meant nothing. "It's not just an accident, it's the latest in a string of mistakes. She's incompetent." Barron's gaze didn't falter. "Incompetence? From the way she's been treated, I'd say it's a lack of respect, not skill, that's the problem here." He paused, letting his words sink in. "I think it's time someone reminded you that mistakes happen. And when they do, you handle them with understanding, not threats." The manager's face flushed red with indignation. He wasn't used to being spoken to like this, especially not by someone so young. But Barron wasn't done. "I'll pay for the suit," Barron said, pulling out his wallet. "And I'll make sure your waitress here gets the respect she deserves. I'll also make sure you understand what's at stake here, should you choose to keep going down this path." The manager's jaw clenched, his anger boiling over. He opened his mouth to retort, but Barron silenced him with one hand raised. "Do we have a problem with that?" For a long moment, the manager stood still, the weight of Barron's words hanging in the air. He could feel every set of eyes in the room on him, and it was clear that Barron had more power at this moment than anyone realized. The manager's ego was bruised but knew when to back off. After a tense silence, he gritted his teeth and muttered, "Fine. But you're out of line." Barron turned to the waitress, offering her a reassuring smile. "You're doing a great job," he said softly. "Don't let people like that get to you." Mia blinked, her eyes welling up with tears. She had been humiliated in front of the entire restaurant, but somehow Barron's words made her feel seen, heard, and respected again. "Thank you," Mia whispered, her voice trembling. Barron gave her a nod and then walked back to his table, where his meal was waiting. But before he sat down, he turned around once more and addressed the entire room. "Respect goes both ways," he said, his voice carrying a quiet authority. "We all deserve it. No one should have to sacrifice their dignity for a paycheck or a reputation. Let's remember that." The entire restaurant was left in stunned silence. Gregory, now completely deflated, sat at his table, the tension in the air dissipating. Meanwhile, Barron's words continued to echo in everyone's minds, a reminder of what truly matters: respect for one another. As the night went on, Mia continued her shift, but now with a newfound sense of confidence. She had stood her ground, and so had Barron Trump. The boss, Mr. Adams, watched the whole scene unfold from the back office, his face a mixture of embarrassment and unease. He had never seen his restaurant handled like that before. He had always prided himself on running a smooth operation, ensuring that guests were always satisfied, even at the expense of his staff. But something about Barron's intervention struck him in a way he couldn't shake. The next day, Mr. Adams made a phone call. The voice on the other end of the line was calm and professional, someone he had never expected to reach out to for a business lesson. "Mr. Trump, I just wanted to thank you for your actions last night. I've been thinking a lot about what happened. And it's clear to me now that I've been managing this restaurant the wrong way." There was a pause as if Mr. Adams was gathering his thoughts. "I've been so focused on pleasing the customer that I forgot about the people who make this place run. My staff. I owe Mia an apology, and I'll ensure things change around here." Barron didn't say much on the phone. "I'm glad you're realizing that, Mr. Adams. Everyone deserves respect. It's time to treat your staff the same way you would treat a paying customer." As Barron hung up the phone, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. He wasn't looking for praise or thanks. He wasn't trying to make a scene. But sometimes all it took was one person to stand up for what was right to change the entire course of an evening. Barron was satisfied knowing that, in this case, the right thing had been done. As for Mia, the next time she came to work, she noticed a change. The staff had been given more authority to address issues before they escalated. The manager no longer shouted across the room at the staff, but instead took the time to offer guidance and support. And the customers too seemed to notice. They started treating her with more respect, even when she made mistakes. Barron's words had planted a seed, and now the entire restaurant felt like a better place to work and dine. But the real change happened inside Barron. It wasn't just the satisfaction of defending someone, it was the realization that sometimes, standing up for others was the most important thing a person could do. The world wasn't perfect, and neither were people. But there was something about respecting each other, no matter what, that had the power to change everything. As Barron returned to that restaurant from time to time, he knew that while not every day would be like that night, he had done something that had a lasting impact. It wasn't just about standing up in the moment. It was about creating a space where respect wasn't just given, it was expected, and that made all the difference.